Hey, Mom.
Listen up, maggots. This is the Grouch coming at you loud and clear with another edition of the Weekend Warriors podcast. This is the place for real, no bullshit talk on the harsh realities and irreverent humor around military life. So sit the fuck down, strap in, and get ready for a raw, no-holds-barred discussion. This is the Weekend Warriors. Welcome again to another episode of the Weekend Warriors. This makes episode number 6, and I really truly think that we're getting the hang of it this time. Joined with me this evening, I'm the Grouch, and we got Steven, and we got Atomic Dog, and Birdo was here, and I don't know where the heck he went, but we'll see if he comes back.
Into the ether.
Steven, how was your day? How was your week? What have you been up to?
Well, as y'all know, I have recently purchased a 3D printer.
Hold on, time out. You are not drinking out of a green cup.
No, I'm not. I switched this week to a black cup. Just so, no green.
All right, so you got yourself a 3D printer.
For those that didn't watch last week, I had a green bottle and a green so that I could play and disappear. But anyway. Fuck you, man. You done got me squirreled off. Fucking rabbit went running and I went chasing the motherfucker. Okay, yeah. So I have recently purchased a 3D printer. And I have just been wearing that shit out.
Which 3D printer did you get?
Well, I have the Creality Ender 3 S1, and I liked it so much I got a Bamboo Labs A1 combo, and that is a game changer. The Creality is pretty cool. It is slow. It is one filament, and it takes a lot of learning to get it going and get everything right. The Bamboo Labs, and you select something on your phone and hit print, and it comes out. It's very, very user friendly. It's about 3 times the cost, but it's less than a radio. So, I mean, hey, but it lets you print out your own little dipole feed points for different little projects. I mean, just I don't know if I can turn this just right.
Oh God, don't.
But
oh no,
it's a frame.
Oh, look at that rail.
3 radios.
Oh, that's cool.
So I printed
Very
that.
Nice.
And threw it on.
Very nice.
We're gonna skip over. We're gonna skip over Birdo and hey Tony, how's it going, bud? How you doing?
Same old stuff, man.
Well, it's good to actually see you this time around.
Yeah. Been kind of, out of the loop a little bit.
Well, what you made a guest appearance on episode 4, right? Where you were audio only.
In the background, yeah.
Yeah.
I was down at Jekyll Island with took my kids down to see my mom and dad. They've rented a house at Jekyll for a week, but we were only there for a couple days.
Do anything good?
Nah, just I went in the ocean for the first time in many, many years, but I didn't stay long.
It's cold.
No, well, it was cold. It was colder than it normally would have been because we had the hurricane come through like the week, like 3 days before. Had a lot of major flooding down here. A lot of paved highways and roads in this area were washed out just because the few years earlier, we had Matthew come through and down a lot of trees and these branches, and when the ponds busted and the water came rushing, it took the debris with it and took out bridges, and there's a couple of state routes that'll be closed for about a year while they rebuild everything.
So how did you fare with Debbie then? I mean, if you're still recovering from Matthew years ago.
No. That was just like out in the creeks, the branches, the wooded areas that nobody goes to. You had a lot of down trees, and when Debbie came and dumped, like here at my house, total in like a 24-hour period, we got probably 8 inches, but there were other places that got like 14 to 20 inches.
That's a lot of water.
And what happens is you get these ponds, these farms have these ponds that they use for irrigation, and as they fill up and top over these earth dams, these dikes, they wash out, and so that pond dumps down creek to the downstream to the next pond, and it's a cascading effect, and it multiplies the amount of water as it gets further down the stream, down the stream. And that's what happens as they start going through these low swampy areas that normally don't get a lot of water. They're just swampy because they're low and they hold water. But these trees and stuff got picked up by all this water and just pushed to these bridges, and because the roads are raised up above the where you can build a road bed so it doesn't flood. And when all that water comes through and tops the road, it just washes it all away.
So, but you're making out all right. You're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing pretty good for old busted up fat man.
You're not wearing a shirt, are you?
No, I'm not.
All right. That's my health check on you.
But I am wearing shorts.
Oh, okay.
As we've already discussed this on previous episodes, clothing is optional.
Yeah.
All right, Birdo, what's going on in your world?
All right. So first of all, I have a confirmed 206.2 megabytes per second. Okay. My internet is good. What I realize is that my computer is so old that the CPU maxes out if I try to do more than 2 things. So I think I got to buy a new computer soon.
What kind of processor you got?
Old.
Like an i3,
Pentium
4?
It's an i7, but it's an i7 from probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, so stay off the gay porn sites while we're talking.
Okay. Those are low bandwidth because I look for the tiny penises. So it doesn't take a lot. I don't know. I'm trying to look up when this processor came out. Paul, how are you doing? What's up, man? What's going on? You asked us all. We generally don't care about you, but what's up?
I asked that question a minute ago.
How's the maritime mobile thing going?
Yeah.
Well, so I haven't been on the Maritime Mobile Net in a little while, but I'm really frustrated. So my boat has been ready to be water tested for 3 weeks, and I just haven't had the time. Yeah. No. So I got it's a 1986 Manatee. It's meant for like bays in the ocean and whatnot, but it's a cool little boat. My father-in-law bought it 6 years ago, and he put a bunch of work into it, and then kind of gave up. So he was going to get rid of it, and I said, I'll take it. And so I finished the boat, and now it's ready for the water. But yeah, we just haven't had time, and now homeschooling has begun again. So I'm back in homeschooling hell. And
do you feel like Billy Madison because you're in 7th grade again?
No, dude, he's a freshman in high school now. Right? He's a freshman in high school now. And let me tell you, okay, so I made a deal with him because the boy's 14 and he suddenly got all into fishing, and he's all about fishing. And I said, okay, well, hey, guess what? Dad's into fishing too. And obviously he knows that. I've had numerous boats over the years. But so I made him a deal, and I said, look, Monday's a holiday, so I'm going to lay out your assignments for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if you do all of your assignments without complaining and without wanting to push things off to the next day, and you just do a really good job on your schoolwork, then I'll give you a free day on Friday, and I'll throw the kayaks in the truck and we'll go fishing. And wouldn't you know it, he started complaining this morning about how much work he had assigned. And I said, listen, I'm telling you, like, the deal was no complaining. You're just going to do your work and you're going to get it done. And then 2:00 rolls around and the temper tantrum set in. And he's like, I want to push my science off for tomorrow. I don't want to do my science right now. I want to, move on to my history class and da-da-da. And I'm like, all right, you knew the consequences ahead of time. I warned you what the consequences were going to be. I said, so go ahead. We're going to push science and history assignments for today off to tomorrow, and we're going to compound that. And so guess what happens is now Thursday's assignments are on Friday. So there goes your fishing day. And then he wanted to do his work. And I said, well, it's too late for that because now you have to deal with the consequences of the actions that you chose. And then Mom got all upset, and Mom's calling me, and she's like, what's going on? Why are you guys fighting? And like, God damn it. Like, I got this under control. Like, he's learning. And he's going to learn because I said, this is the consequence if you complain and you want to push your work off and you don't want to do your work. This is the consequence. So that's, yeah. He's got to deal with that.
So
do you use a rule of thumb? Like you only hit him with a stick that's no bigger than
no wider than my thumb?
Yeah.
That's not very effective now. Maybe it should be rule of wrist.
Yeah.
Love Boondock Saints
Rule
references.
Rule of fist.
Robert doesn't even know where the reference came from.
I think I'm fucking offended by that.
What, the fact that you don't know who Rosie and the rule of wrist is?
Oh my god. Sorry, Steven.
Wait, we were talking about homeschooling and the kid and his choices. Cross country.
Haha. So,
or you can cut that part out.
yeah, well, I don't think that conversation that Cody and I had made the recording last time around. And,
no, it didn't.
And so, all right, so we gotta get Cody in here to truly have that parenting talk because I really do appreciate his insight. But yeah, so we don't often get victories when we have disagreements with our spouse. But I had to celebrate a little small victory because now we've been having behavioral problems with our 14-year-old. And by behavioral problems, what I mean is that we have created this problem where from such a young age, he has always gotten exactly what he wanted. And if he heard the word no, or if he was told that he can't have something, well, if you throw a temper tantrum that's big enough, eventually you'll wear mom and dad down enough that they'll fight with each other and you'll get your way. And so he's become like a little mastermind at this. And I realize that it's harsh of me to say that my 14-year-old has become a mastermind in manipulating his parents, but it's the truth. He has learned that if he can pit us against each other, then he'll get his way. And so he's run cross country for the last 3 years. And I said 100% that he needed to do an extracurricular sport because it's good for him and it creates, a little bit of motivation to, better himself, right? Because cross country, while it is a team sport, it's based on individual results. And you're always kind of trying to beat your previous times. But so he didn't want to run cross country anymore. And I said, well, that's not an option. You're running because this is what you've agreed to do. You've done it for the last 3 years. You're going to run through high school and you're going to have your extracurricular done. Well, Mom offered him the option to do horseback riding as an alternative, right? Let him quit cross country because he didn't want to do it. No, we don't have horses. We used to have a horse, but no, she wanted to pay for riding lessons and all that. And I said, okay. I said, I will concede the loss on this argument, but I guarantee you that we're going to have the same problem with horseback riding. He's going to go to a lesson, everything's going to be fine, and then he's not going to want to go anymore, and he's going to revert back to the toddler behavior, and he's going to try and get Mom and Dad to get mad at each other because that's when he wins. And so 2 weeks goes by. He goes to his first riding lesson, and he doesn't want to brush the horse. He doesn't want to tack the horse. He doesn't want to clean the hooves. He just wants to show up and jump on the horse and ride. That's not the way it works. With no matter what you do, there's going to be some element of work involved. You're going to have to put in some effort. And so, yeah, sure enough, the toddler antics came back out, and Mom agreed. Yeah, you know what? It's not the extracurricular that's the problem. It's the fucking child. So I had to celebrate that little win anyways, but yeah. Now we're down to 0 extracurricular activities. We're trying to figure out where we can stick them. And I said, you know what? At this point, he agreed to horseback riding, so now he's locked into horseback riding, and he should have to horseback ride. Whether he likes it or not, do the fucking work, kid.
Allison's daughter.
Wow.
Was like that too, or kind of is. With separate parents, you kind of can wear them down easily.
Oh, separate parents is even easier.
Yeah. Until the day she met me. And she doesn't realize that I've been listening to little kids bitch for 15 years. She just has to clean her room. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, hey, you got to go clean your room. It had to have been 3 hours. And I was just stone cold. Didn't have a single reaction. I was like, no, sorry. You're getting nothing out of me. And I held strong. Eventually, she cleaned her room and was like, hey, look what I did. I cleaned my room. Like, be proud of me. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then it's the same thing when I take her to the store. She's like, can I get this? And I won't even entertain it. Like, they'll be like,
nope.
Well, maybe you'll get this. I'm just like, no. And she's like, why not? And I'm like, because I said no. I don't. What other reason?
You don't need it. You don't deserve it. The answer is no.
And she'll do it. She'll have a little temper tantrum, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why? Go stop. And it was nice for me because I get to set those boundaries early. So now she knows that like she doesn't get away with it. And what pisses me off the most is that she knows how to turn it on now. And she'll do it and she'll whine and I'll look at her and I'll be like, you're fucking with us, aren't you? And she'll be like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, you little brat. Like, you're faking this whole thing. You're just whining. She's like, no, I actually want it. But with, like, smirking it. I'm like, you're a little bastard. I'm like, sit down, shut up. But they are. They're manipulative little bastards.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, like my daughter's my oldest daughter, she figured out that she could try to play the mom and daddy game because mom's a little more helicopter mom than I am, helicopter parent than I am. But she'll come and say, hey, can I do this? And I'll be like, yeah, you can do that. And then find out mom told her no. So I had to go back in and correct that shit. And she only did that like twice. And she didn't get her way, so she doesn't do that shit anymore.
Nice.
Oh, thank goodness. Mine are grown. One's what, 20, just turned 27, and the youngest one is what, 23, 20, 23, 24, somewhere around in there.
But being in law enforcement for like 17 years, it blew my mind how many people will call the police to be mom and daddy because they're too scared to
Oh.
freaking discipline their children. You know, whether it be physically or they just don't want to be the one to tell them no. You know what I mean?
One of the
Like,
ones that I used to hate.
You get a call because the kid does not want to get up and go to school in the morning, and they want you to come make their kid get out of bed. I'm for real. I mean, this was a guaranteed call at least, once or twice a month. And that you'd go over there. I went over there, went to a call like that one time, and I walked in the room and said, "Hey, man, you got to get up. You got to get up." Like, I'm not getting up. I said, "Look, dude, I'm not your mama or your daddy. I'm not. I'm telling you, you're going to get up." So I pulled the freaking dump their bed on top of them. I said, "I don't care if you get up. At least you're out of bed." And I left. 10-8.
The one I used to hate was parents when you're in uniform and you're just walking down doing whatever. You don't be good, he's going to take you to jail. No, sorry. I had to stop.
Yeah.
Turn around. No, that is not true. Your mama's lying to you. We don't take little kids to jail. We take adults to jail for doing bad things. That one used to just tear me up. Don't turn your kids against the police.
I've become friendly with the chief of police here in town through the VFW. And so about a month ago, when my boy, he fraudulently charged $70 to my mother-in-law's credit card so that he could buy a PlayStation game for his buddy. And then he fraudulently charged another $70 to his mother's credit card so that he could get another game on something else. And I was that close to calling the chief and being like, "Bro, can you come down here and tell this boy that stealing and credit card fraud is a major criminal offense? And while he may be too young to prosecute right now, if he continues this pattern of behavior, he's going to end up in jail."
If you'd have just bought him the damn game, you wouldn't have been in that position. You made him do that. I can't even say that with a straight fucking face. You made him do that.
But you know what? In his little mind, though, like that's how it is. You know? Well, you're the mean parent, so it wouldn't buy it.
One of the funniest stories I got is I got called to this house. I was working at the Garden City Police Department right down near Savannah. And there's a housing project there, and I got called for a 14-year-old girl that the mother said she couldn't control anymore. And I walked in the house and was talking to the mom. I'm like, "What's going on?" And, well, my daughter here wants to go hang out with these, 18, 19, 20-year-olds on, at night. And I looked at her and I'm like, "Well, what did you tell her?" So I told her no. I said, "And what happened?" She goes, "Well, she said she started to go out anyway, and I just didn't want to get in trouble for child abuse." I said, "Well, how do you normally discipline your child?" She goes, "Well, I used to use a belt, but now I'm scared of getting locked up for child abuse." I said, "Well, you go get you a belt, and when you get close to child abuse, I'll let you know." She went and got a belt and started strapping that young's ass, and when she got down on the legs, I said, No, you got to be on the butt. You can't be down on the legs. You got to be on the butt." And that little girl looked at me like I was Satan, but we never went back to that house.
I think I don't want to say it was a good or bad thing, but people, that generation, when that stopped, or at least the fear of it stopped.
That's the bottom line, though. If they're not going to give you respect out of just being respectful, then they need to respect you out of fear. Period.
I saw this quote the other day that I told my girlfriend. We're like, gentle parenting is this whole new thing now.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote was, "Gentle parenting is for gentle kids." And I was like, dang, that's so true. Because like the kids that can accept it well, and they
Right.
flourish. But not all kids are like that.
Well, that's just like
I probably wasn't like that, you know?
This doesn't have to do with kids, but it's the same concept. You can take, like, you have your military and police working dogs, and even out of that breed or that mindset, you have dogs that are really, really what they call hard dogs. They're very dominant and very. You have to be really physical with them to keep them from trying to be the dominant person in the team. But you take a dog like that to a civilian dog trainer, and they won't be able to handle it, because they'll be wanting to do this clicker shit. And the minute that dog gets frustrated and tries to eat their ass up, they don't know what to do. They just don't know how to handle that.
Soldiers are the same way, man. You got to treat them all differently. They all respond differently. I've got some soldiers that are very receptive like that. My one soldier, love him to death. He's leaving me in like 2 months, and it's really upsetting. But I can talk to him. I call him by his first name. I'm like, "Hey, Mike, can't do that. Not again." He's like, "All right, I hear you." Like, he didn't know it was wrong or something. And he'll hear me out. I can be a gentle parent with him, and it's great. But then there's other ones where I'm like, "You are the absolute worst, and you're gonna fail at everything in life." Speaking
I just
of
can't
Russ,
believe that they took a lot of tools that you could use on soldiers back, like in my day. That you can't do that shit anymore. Like, make them dig a hole and fucking fill that bitch back up. All that kind of shit.
Well, I remember you had a disagreement with somebody. You just went to the tree line and you settled it.
Right.
You came back and you had a fucking beer, and that was the end of it. These days, you can't even do that shit.
And the crazy part about that kind of thing is that you'd wind up making some of the best friends of your life after that freaking fight, because you'd be freaking tighter and freaking, bread on a sandwich.
Yeah, even if you were the one that got your ass kicked.
Yeah, exactly. The other dude respected you for standing up for what you were doing, and you freaking got over it, and freaking you were buddies.
Well, look who decided to join the show.
Russ, welcome to the party.
Hello. How you guys
What's up,
doing?
Russ?
How was your day? How you been?
I've been alright, man. Been just taking it easy. I went to a pool party last night, so I'm kind of recovering from that today.
I imagine.
So what happened last night, Russ?
So I was just hanging out in downtown. I went to this pool party, and I was there until I don't know how I was there until 3 a.m. And there was these 3 girls. I was trying to hit on all 3 of them. Just going back and forth. My ADHD brain was just going. And then I'm like, all right, it's 3 in the morning. And then I text Tony at 3 in the morning. Tony, help.
Yeah.
Tell us the
How's that
thought
gonna work?
process behind that one.
Okay.
First of all, why the fuck did you reach out to Tony of all people? I don't know.
How is the guy in Georgia gonna help the guy in California?
Hey, old dude from fucking Georgia, come help me.
Maybe
I know we're not tight. We've done like a podcast together, but like all I'm gonna do is just send help me. That's it.
Oh,
I'm not gonna give any context.
Here you go, Russ. You got the spotlight. Tell us all about it.
No, I mean my thought process. I don't know what it was. I just gave up. I'm like, bro, I'll let Tony try it. I'm like, Tony, help. I was gonna say, Tony, you got to talk to him on Discord. But then like they went home, and I'm like, all right. And then,
You were gonna get fucking Tony Look now, Tony would be like, "Hey, this is gonna be my wingman right now."
The Georgia wingman.
Yeah, this is.
I
He's
was
like,
gonna be like, hey,
Hey,
he's
that-
like,
Santa
The
Claus.
Tony's
southern
my
accent can open some doors. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Tony's my fucking closer. Hold on, let me get him on the phone. He's like Will Ferrell from Wedding Crashers. Like, it's a done deal when you talk to Tony.
Figure
You're all
talk to him
coming
about
back with
cornbread,
me.
and black eyed peas, and we'll be all over it.
So-
It was a very short night though, man. Like I went to sleep, I woke up, and I'm like, so I went to sleep at like 6 in the morning. I woke up at 8 in the morning, and I'm like, all right, now what? Now I gotta get home.
He woke up at 8 in the morning because me and freaking DJ were blowing his phone up.
Also, let us remind you that this was on a Monday night.
Labor Day.
And he was putting in the work.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep. Putting in the work, man.
I'll tell you. All right, now this isn't racist in one bit, and anybody that thinks it is racist is fucking wrong.
Whenever
But
you
let me tell
preface
you-
what you're about to say by saying this isn't racist,
It's not. Listen to me.
with all
The
due
f-
respect,
The fucking Asians got it right. Because the Asians have never reduced standards. The Asians always increase the standards, right? So the kids have to work fucking harder to learn, to be better, to meet that new bar every single fucking time. They got it right. Now, the rest of the United States, on the other hand, like, we're a bunch of fucking Sallies because we just keep lowering the fucking standards because, well, it should be an equitable outcome for all.
My daughter just started high school this year. She has yet to have any homework.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. I was dating a high school teacher, right? She was a 10th grade teacher, English. First day back from school, she had her students color the fucking, do coloring. And I'm like, bro, they're 10th graders, fucking adults, and you have them color?
She's training future Marines.
They're getting them used to handling the crayons without eating them.
don't eat it.
Do not eat it.
Okay,
Fight
so
the temptation.
according to a USA Today article from the 28th, which was 4 or 5 days ago, Ford Motor Company tells its employees it will no longer participate in an annual survey from an LGBTQ advocacy group and would not use quotas for minority dealerships and suppliers. The latest company to change its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative as a corporate America faces growing pressure from a conservative activist whose anti-DEI campaign is gaining movement. Fuck, I can't talk.
But we were so fucking wrong to get away from a meritocracy. Like, people do better when it's based on merit, when it's based on what you can do and how hard you work,
Yeah, there was
rather
a time.
than
I would argue there was a time where, affirmative action was a needed thing, but today is not. that
Sure.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Russ, what?
They lined us up and then said, all right, if you are white, take a step forward.
Oh my God.
And then they kept listing, if you were born into a white family, if you were born into college educated family, step forward. And then they'll be like, this is your privilege. Look at, now turn around. And I was like, bro, it's not a fucking privilege, right? Let's say I want my children to be called privileged because I want to make the right choices now and in the future so they can enjoy the products of my responsible choices. It's not a fucking privilege. It's the choices.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is so I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter profile, my X profile, where I said in response to somebody that was running for Congress, I said, listen to me. I said, freedom is the ability to get up every day and work hard and sacrifice to chase your dreams. That is what freedom means. And that is what we have in this country until everything went all fucking upside. But like everyone, it didn't matter how poor you were, didn't matter how rich you were. Everyone has the same opportunity to work hard and sacrifice for whatever it is that they want to do in life. But you have to work hard and you have to sacrifice. And it's not fucking easy.
Sacrifice creates paradise. We go one hand.
Well, one of the biggest things that I dealt with today's youth when I was a supervisor was getting people to understand everybody has a choice. You can make whatever choice you want, whether it's way over here or way over here. However, there are consequences that come with those actions. You can either choose to accept those consequences or not accept those consequences. And I had one of probably the hardest conversations that I've had with somebody. We were talking, and she told me, she said she was a single mom of 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. And I said, no, actually, you have choices.
Yeah.
There's always choices.
I can think of 2 others. No, this is the only choice. And I said, okay.
Stripping isn't your only option.
What other choices have you thought of? And she said, well, this is the only one. And I said, you're not going to like this, but because we are friends, here is my advice to you. You have 2 other choices. She said, well, I don't see them. What are they? I said, you can surrender your kids. Give them up to your parents or to foster care. That's not an option. Yes, it is an option. It's a choice that you are choosing not to make. I said, or you can quit. I can't. No, I can't quit. I need this. I said, again, that's a choice you are making. These are options. Now, I'm going to tell you, you're fucking stupid to me, and I'll disown you if you choose these options.
Mm-hmm.
But they are options. And she stopped and she thought about it, and she's like, you're right. I said, yeah, these are choices, and you're choosing this choice. So because you're choosing this choice, you are going to have to make choices and sacrifices and decisions. And those decisions might mean that you get this or you don't get this and you end up with this. I said, but because you've made this choice, which I think is the right choice, and I would make this choice also, but because you're making this, you can't even think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is no longer an option.
But yeah, no, I completely agree, Stephen, that like even when you make a choice to not make a choice, you're still making a choice.
You're still making a choice.
And you have to be willing to live with the consequences of that choice.
Yes.
It's just like it's like the famous quote, you either have freedom or security. You can't have both completely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because the thing is there are consequences, good and bad, to every choice we make and don't make. And people don't understand that anymore. They think that, everything is out of their control and they're just victims in this horrible fucking world that we live in. And no, you're not a victim. You just need to fucking work harder. You need to sacrifice. You need to give and put in some more effort and make better choices so that the consequences of those choices are what you are actually looking to get.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know how we get through to these young kids, you know? I mean, as a parent of one myself, like, Christ, dude, my boy, he is such an entitled little shit because all his life he has gotten everything he's ever wanted. He's never had to work for anything. He's never had to struggle. He's never had strife. He's never had that, like, oh my God, this is what I want. And in order to get what I want, I have to sacrifice something else that means a lot to me in the pursuit of that thing.
But
It
is
reminds
that
me of
because we, as a generation of parents, have allowed that?
100%.
Yes. Yep.
It's like the quote that I was just to say is, you know, soft times make soft men and hard times make hard men.
Right.
The easier it is to freaking make a living and get by, the weaker people get. And the harder it is, the more robust they become.
Well, and there's that mentality too, where, you know, with each generation, right? The parents always want their kids to have it easier than they did. They want their kids to have a better life than they did. Well, I'll tell you, I think probably with the Gen X generation is where we kind of lost that. That yes, I want my children to have a better life, but I also want them to understand the value of hard work and the ability to appreciate and be grateful for all of the things that they have, because even if you didn't go out and buy it, it still was somebody else's hard work that ended up being the reason why you got that thing.
Right.
And so you should cherish it because of the sacrifices that were made by that other person so that you could have what you want.
That's like when I was a kid, I didn't realize exactly what was going on. And when I got older, I realized that the reason my dad would take a second job come November, late October, November, was so he could afford, they could afford to buy Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
And I never really thought about it until I got old enough to go to work, you know, and because my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my generation is pretty much the last generation of, you know, a stay-at-home parent, you know, and I think not having a stay-at-home parent has allowed our children in today's environment to become, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they're not disciplined. They don't have any real input into their lives anymore, unless they get it from some major YouTube or, you know, some social medias, or they get it from school, and school isn't allowed to be a disciplinarian anymore. You know, I'd much rather, if my girl got in trouble, her get her little 3 licks on her ass with a paddle, let her come home to me and me handle it again, than to see them get freaking expelled or suspended for a week, because that's not really doing anybody any good. Good.
I don't know about your generation, Paul, or definitely not yours, Russ or Robert, if he's still there in the background. I got in a fight in the 7th grade. Knocked down, drag out in the middle of class. Couldn't wait till after school. It happened. Went straight to the principal's office. Got a paddling. And I want to say it was 3 or 5. I can't remember licks. I mean, this shit hurt. And you want to know when my parents found out about it?
Right away.
Fuck no.
2 weeks later.
This was 8th grade. So, I don't know. How old are you in 8th grade?
12, 13.
12, 13?
14.
Yeah.
Yeah. 22, when I came back for leave, we were talking about something.
And you're like, remember that one time I got in trouble in school?
Like, no, hey, I have something to tell you. Because my dad told me, plain and simple, Whatever happens at school will happen at home, only worse. And
Yep.
I believe that shit. And it was 10 plus years before my parents found out.
So I'll tell you, I'm obviously I'm at the top of the millennial scale, right? I was born in '81. I was technically the first year of the millennials,
Yeah.
right? Yep. But both my parents, they were born in '60, and my dad was a cop all my life growing up, And while I only got the belt, I think maybe 3 times. My mom quit her job to stay home and raise me. And then 6 years later, my younger brother came. 10 years later, my younger sister came. Right. But she was a stay at home mom, and my dad worked his ass off. And I didn't pick up on it until I was well into my late 30s that, yeah, like my parents made a lot of sacrifices that I didn't see as a kid, whether it be time, money, or, something else where, I mean, like, I don't know how they dealt with me being a rebellious little shit. And, like 6th grade, I freaking ran away because I wanted to go hang out with my friend. And literally, like, I was just hiding in the woods while my dad, the cop, called in fucking state police and fish and game and fucking everybody and their brother to fucking find me. Right. And at the time, right, I mean, I was 11, 12 years old. Like, I mean, my young mind couldn't comprehend what the adults were going through. But Christ, yeah, looking back on it now, I'm like, I don't understand how my parents didn't kill me. All the shit that I put them through, like,
I wonder that all the time.
like, how the hell did they not kill me?
And this is coming from a Gen Xer who our parents didn't worry about us until
Supper time.
I don't even know if they worried about us then. I mean, and I love my mom and dad, but
If you wasn't home on time to eat supper, you got your ass beat.
I don't know. It seems like we stayed out in the neighborhood
No.
and of course back then of course the neighborhood is still there, but we never locked our doors. I never had a key all the way through high school because we didn't need one. Nobody locked their doors. And we would come home or be out. I mean, I remember coming home once because I had a nail through my shoe. Um, you can't take Chuck Taylor's and try and bend a nail. It won't work out good for you. Trust me. I'm so rabbit trailed. I have no fucking clue why I started that conversation.
We're talking about how our parents couldn't. We are surprised how our parents didn't kill us all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd wake up in the morning on a summer day and eat breakfast and
Well,
hit the door and wouldn't come back till dark.
yeah,
That'd be like 9 o'clock.
I I've told her the story, and I'll repeat it. I have been in many a fights over the years. Physical fights, all wrestling fights, all kinds of different fights. The hardest I have ever been hit was by my mother. We were getting off at Level Road, and me being the smartass that I am, I was a smartass as a teenager. I said something, don't remember what I said, but I remember saying something that offended her, and she took one hand off the steering wheel and backhanded me hard enough to where I've remembered it all my life. And it probably wasn't that hard, but it hit hard because it came from mama.
Yep.
We have allowed correction to become too passive to where people don't fear correction.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of our problem. Well, we have to remember, going back to the
We're
whole choices
we're
thing,
not cavemen, man.
but there are consequences for those actions. And
Right.
sometimes,
I'm just
in
picking.
order for people to understand that that is a severe consequence or a really wrong choice,
Well,
they have to feel it.
you were in law enforcement. How many
Yep.
times have you had to deal with that person that got locked up or arrested for whatever, and it's the first time they've ever actually had any legitimate consequence for
Oh,
their behavior, and they're just totally, you can tell they're totally lost, that they just can't go home. You
yeah.
can't call their mom, you can't call
But
their dad, and
it's
they're
my
20 something
house.
years old. You know, that
Yeah.
just kills me that people have no correlation between cause and effect, consequences versus conduct.
And I mean that when I first started in law enforcement, people knew. I mean, if I'm going to fight the police, I'm going to get my ass kicked at some point. Maybe not right away, but eventually I'm going to get my ass kicked. And they accepted that and either chose to follow through with it or not. They either complied or they didn't comply. And now as a society, we have moved to the point to where there are both sides. There's the younger side that doesn't understand the difference, and this is a totally separate topic that we'll get down at some point, I'm sure. Um, Peace officer versus law enforcement. And Tony understands where I'm going.
Yep.
There's a fucking fence, and there's a peace officer, and there's law enforcement. And we as a society, as a species, have dealt with both sides, and there will probably always be predominantly one side or the other. And unfortunately, right now, we're at the law enforcement side. Hopefully, we'll get back to the peace officer side because, in my opinion,
A society has to allow for that to happen, though.
but that's the point that society's at, is they're going to have to make that choice. And we need more peace officers now than we need law enforcement because some of the laws are kind of fucking dumb.
Some, yeah, most of them.
Agreed.
I'll tell you, in 2000, right? 18-year-old fresh Marine, right out of boot, right? I go home on leave. Now, I feel like I am greater than God because that is what the Marine Corps instilled in me, right? That I am better than God. I am a God.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting on the couch in my parents' house, and the way that it had it is a split level ranch, and so the living room was open with a doorway direct into the kitchen, and then there was a pass through. So I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm talking on the phone. And my mom was at the kitchen sink, across the way, and we could see each other. And she made a smart comment while I was on the phone. And I said, "Oh, Mom, shut up. Like, I'm on the phone. Like, come on." Let me tell you, she went from the sink to on top of me in half a heartbeat. And with a finger in my face, very sternly said, "Don't you ever tell me to shut up. I don't care how old you are or how tough you think you are. Don't you ever tell me to shut up." And I was still, as a fucking Marine, scared to death of my mother. You don't ever disrespect Mom.
It's
I
a
remember the
primal
first.
thing.
I remember the first time I ever made my mama bad enough that she dropped the f-bomb. When she said that, I was like, "Oh, I'm a dead man.
Oh, I really fucked
I'm
up.
dead." Yeah, I'm
I
dead.
was I was in my probably 30s or 40s before I ever heard my mother cuss. It's she no.
That's because your mom didn't have me as a kid.
Oh, trust me, she had me, but I never heard it.
She was cursing you behind closed doors.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh man, you know
She-
that reminds me of a situation. I remember I was in high school and we had the living room here, but the kitchen here, but the living room dining room area sort of L'd around that. Well, I'm sitting in the kitchen. She's over there on the couch, and I know because I heard her sit down. Well, she said something, and I'm in punishment zone and sitting at the kitchen table doing homework and having to sit there and do it. She said something, and I'm like, she comes, I hear 2 footsteps, doom, doom, boom, and I get smacked upside the head. Don't you ever. And it took me a while to realize that she was sitting on the sofa so that she could look at it. Took me being a father 30 years later, probably, of being a dad, realizing she's sitting there on the sofa looking in the microwave reflection and seeing whether or not I'm writing, I'm up, or I'm flipping her off. And apparently, looking up and looking out the window, that's one level. That was a completely different level. That needed a physical response, and I got it in the back of the head. And I was like, yes, ma'am.
And don't you ever do that again.
Yeah, that was along the lines of what she said. Yes.
I remember I was in 3rd grade. This would have been about 74. And me and a buddy of mine, we were called ourselves going to go fishing. Well, we went down to the canal that we were going to go fishing in. It was dry, so we followed it going to the pond, hopefully to get more water to catch a couple catfish. We ended up walking all the way to the cow pond, and some black kids that we went to school with was there swimming in the cow pond. So we were like, okay, we'll swim with we'll go swimming with our buddies, you know. So we've been out there swimming, and Mama had heard something about 2 white boys down at the pond in town. She'd heard rumor about these 2 white boys down at the pond swimming with the kids, and we didn't have permission to go swimming. We had permission to go fishing. So they had been running all over trying to figure out what pond we were at, and they were going to snatch us up. And we were walking back. We were barefooted, and we ended up stepping in, finding some cactuses in this pasture on the way back, and we had cactuses in our feet, trying to pull them out. You know how wussified you are when you're in 3rd grade. So we're walking on the side of our feet trying to get home. I got home. It was after dark, and I was supposed to be home before dark. And my stepdad was out in the garage cutting on this wooden door with a jigsaw. And I said, "What you making?" He said, "You'll find out after supper." All right. So I went and sat down, and we had supper, and I was trying to get the rest of the cactus out of my feet. And all of a sudden, after supper, my stepdad's demeanor changed from happy and jovial to all business. He said, "Go to your room. I'll be there in a minute." He come in there with this paddle that he had cut out of that board, and he proceeded to put it on my ass to the point that I had some purple bruises on my ass from this paddle. But I'm telling you, out of my entire life, all he had to do was threaten me with that paddle, and I was in lockstep.
I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
Hey, gentlemen, 73's got to be up early tomorrow for PT, all right?
All right, man.
All right. Later, Russ.
See you, Chief. So, gentlemen, remember, just because you can have nice things, you're in the military, you probably can't afford this, but do not revert to alcohol to solve your problems. That is only a temporary fix. Find somebody that's fucked up in the brain like you are and talk to them. That's what helps.
Yeah, because 99% of the time, alcohol just creates more problems.
Oh yeah,
100% of the time.
Oh, this is the Grouch, and I want to say thank you to each and every person that has stuck with us through this episode of the Weekend Warriors. As always, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Stay with it. We're all in this together.
Remember, I'm pulling for you, 'cause we're all in this together.
If you stuck
Steven.
with it this long, call me because you need a life.
Steven, any parting words for the listeners?
That's my only parting words.
Perfect. Tony, how about you? Any parting words for the listeners?
Stay safe. Stay strong. That's about it.
So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball this week and like and subscribe because it's not down there anymore. It's too small. We've moved it up here to where it's bigger.
Easy enough. And without, we're out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
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 Thank you. Thank you.